that segment is my co-producer, who's actually the director of data science at Loyola. He gives what I like to call a guest lecture. I want to start clapping right now for Dr. Greg Matthews, everybody.
What's up, everybody? Let's give it up for statistics. It's pretty exciting stuff. I have a criticism I'd like to make. Geez, I did it. Darren, that's called a Kaplan-Meier plot. It's not a survival plot. I mean, that's a pretty basic mistake. No offense. Where are my stat people at? Anyone here? No one knows what I'm talking about? We're talking about, I'm sorry, I didn't want to throw him under the bus, but I just can't let that slide. It's a Kaplan-Meier plot. Come on, people. All right. So we're talking about evolutionary biology, so I put up, that's a Mitsubishi Evo, and that's the band Devo. I got jokes. All right, so we're going to talk about, what I want to talk today is about offspring. So I'm a professor of statistics, and I like to take every theme of the show and talk about statistics. And this one's about evolutionary biology, and the theme that I want to talk about within evolutionary biology is offspring. And so within the first two slides, I put two bands from my childhood. I'm old. And I'm going to talk about two different kinds of offspring within the framework of statistics. I'm going to talk about academic offspring and also genetic offspring. All right, so academic offspring, I hear someone groaning already. Academic offspring, meaning like I advised someone got advised by someone, and they have offspring. And then also genetic offspring. And you guys can figure out what that is. Sex, Daddy. All right. And this is the guy we're going to talk about. This is the main character of our story, Francis Galton. And I'm going to tell you all about him, and we're going to talk about him in both terms of academic offspring and also in terms of genetic offspring. But Galton is the main character of my story. Let me tell you a little bit about Galton to whet your appetite. Galton was Sir Francis Galton. He was a knight. He was also cousins with Charles Darwin. It's all connected. And he also had horribly deformed lower back. I found this picture on Galton.org, and I can't stop staring at it. I love it so much. I don't know what's going on here. I guess this is fashion or what, but I like to assume there's a horrible deformity under there. Galton was horribly deformed lower back. I don't know. Am I allowed to say the word badonkadonk? Without getting, okay, I don't know. So Greg, you got my attention. Tell me more. I've whetted your appetite. It's like one of those movies where they start out with all the action. En media res. We started in the middle. I whetted your appetite. We're going to go all the way back to Galileo. See what I did there? I used a plot device. Impressive. No one's impressed by my plot device usage. So Galileo is largely considered, Einstein called him no less than the father of modern science. And Galileo had a student named Vincenzo Viviani, and he had a student named Isaac Barrow, and Isaac Barrow had a student named Isaac Newton. You've probably heard of Newton before. This is the guy who did, he did gravity, he worked on optics, and he invented calculus. Now I know what some of you nerds out there are thinking, what about Leibniz? Calm the fuck down. Newton invented calculus. Look it up. Or we got any Leibniz fans in here?
Way before statistics.
Newton invented it. It's not wrong. It's factually correct. Okay. And he had a student named Roger Coates, and Roger Coates had a student named Robert Smith, and Robert Smith had a student named Walter Taylor. This is Walter Taylor. Now, something you need to know about me is that I like pranks, and I just got you guys so good. That's not Walter Taylor. That's Brooke Taylor, and you guys didn't even notice. Brooke Taylor, you know about Taylor series? I got you so good. Taylor series, Taylor expansions, anyone? Little calculus stuff? This whole front row is mortified with me today. I came to the comedy show and he's talking about calculus. I got you guys so good. You guys thought it was Walter Taylor. And he had a student named Stephen Wisson, and he had a student named Thomas Postlethwaite, and he had a student named Thomas Jones. This is the most, as I'm doing this, I'm realizing this is the most boring thing possible. It's just me naming academic genealogy. He had a student named Adam Sedgwick. He had a student named William Hopkins, and he had a student named Sir Francis Galton. And we reached the main character of our story. So there's a direct line, there's a direct academic descendancy from Galileo through Newton to this guy, Sir Francis Galton. So let me tell you a little bit about Galton. He had a horrible deformity on his lower back. So why am I talking, I'm a statistics professor, why would I be talking about Galton? Well, Galton is one of these people, he invented a lot of things that we still use in statistics. And so what is his connection to genetics? He's very famous, his sort of first foray into genetics was with peas. And what he did was he got a bunch of packets of peas, and he sent them to all his friends, and he said, grow these and send me back the data. And then he took credit for it, which is the most professor thing I've ever heard, right? He had his friends do all the work, and then he was like, I'm gonna publish it and go get tenure. So he started with peas, but probably his most famous data set, because anyone follow famous data sets? His most famous data set is the height data. So this is the height data, this is the actual height data that Galton collected. And what he did is he collected the heights of the mother and the mother and the father, and then he collected the heights of all of the offspring. This is stratified so that we have the mean height of the parent on the x-axis, and we have the height of each of the offspring on the y-axis, and it's stratified by male and female, and you can see there's a positive correlation. This is actually where the term regression to the mean comes from. What he noticed was that the offspring were regressing towards the mean of their parents. Right? So you probably talk about this all the time. You probably talk about regression to the mean when you're doing statistics. Sure. Why are you laughing? I don't understand. Do we not all do statistics all day? So this is where regression to the mean comes from. It's credit to Galton. Now, one thing I want to point out about this data set is that I don't understand why people are laughing. I don't understand. One of the really interesting things about this data set is I'm gonna have to stop this. Can you please take my science seriously? I've devoted my life to this, so. You all set? Okay. It's okay, she's an accountant. On the left, we have the Galton height data. This is the height of the men in Galton's data. And this is called the QQ plot. And what you can see is if the data falls along a 45-degree line, the data follows a normal distribution. Okay? And so I just think this is a fun point to add. The left is Galton's data. It's real data. And on the right, we have OkCupid data. So what OkCupid did was they collect men's heights for what they say their heights are. And you can see, because there's this tail up there, that there's departures from normality. Okay? So what does this mean? What you can see here is that the solid purple line here is the implied normal distribution. We know heights are normal. We've seen it with Galton. And we know that the heights are normal. But we can see the dotted line is what the OkCupid heights were actually observed. So what's happening here? Does anyone know what's happening? All the men who are 5'11 or 5'10, they're like, well, 6 feet. And it's because men are dirty, filthy, lying pieces of trash. That's what I get an applause for. Okay, all right. So I just wanted to show you that little fun tidbit. Back to the science. Okay, so a lot of times the analysis is the most fun part of these little presentations, but I think in this presentation, the data is actually really interesting. These are actual logbooks that Galton used. He was writing the data down. Remember, this is like the 1800s. They didn't have computers. That's your history lesson. So he was writing this down. This is the actual data. We have the father, the mother, we have the sons in order of height, and we have the daughters in order of height. And so that first record there is like there was an if you see at the top here, there's a note that says family heights, add 60 inches to every entry in the table. So this was a 78.5-inch father, and we see that record with the daughters on the right, we have the sons in that middle column. And so you can see there's a lot of nice data collected here, but I don't know what happened to Galton. He like lost his mind, or he got really lazy, and he started doing this. And these are real pages from the notebook. He was like, they're tall, very tall. And then he was like, I don't know, tallish, medium, shortish. And then he went completely out of his mind. These are real, I remind you. Idiotic. And then he wrote deformed, which is awfully odd considering, remember, Galton had a hugely deformed lower back. I love this picture so much. I'm going to keep showing this picture all throughout this presentation. If you go to galton.org, they have like 2 pictures of Galton. It's the one I showed on the first page and then this one. Like, that's the picture you chose? I love it so much. Okay. So you're probably thinking, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, all this guy did was invent regression? I'm unimpressed. Okay? Now I think I'm impressed by that because I know the power of regression. Maybe you people don't, but I promise you it's impressive. But if you're not satisfied with regression, but wait, there's more. Galton, he also was the first to use fingerprints in solving crimes. He also invented weather maps. I don't know if he invented weather maps, but he was one of the first people to chart weather in England. And he also did a study on the efficacy of prayer. And he basically found that what he was doing was he was looking to see if people who are prayed for more often live any longer, and the people who were prayed for more often were people of nobility. And he basically found there was no relationship between prayer and whether people live longer. And does anyone know why that's true? It's because God's not real. Oh my, I'm gonna get fired for that joke. Okay. So, here's something else Galton did. Galton, I swear to God this is true. Everything I'm telling you is true right now. Galton did something called a beauty map of England. So Galton went around and he was going to different parts of England, and he had a clandestine little thing he had like a pencil in his pocket, and he was making marks about how beautiful the women were in different parts of England. And then he made a map of beauty that was his subjective choice about all over England, who were the most beautiful women. Right? Now I tried to find an actual picture. This is not the real Galton beauty map. And I tried to find it for you, and so I Googled Galton beauty map. So you can see here, I Googled Galton beauty map, and you don't get it. For some reason, what comes up is Uncle Fluffy's Beard Company. And if you're wondering what Uncle Fluffy's Beard Company is, it's handcrafted small batch beard products. I have no idea why this all comes up, but I loved it, and I thought I'd share it with you. So here it is. Uncle Fluffy's Beard Company. They made it into a talk about Sir Francis Galton. Oh yeah. So, there it is. As was popular in the time, people were huge douchebags, and Galton is also basically the father of eugenics. He invented eugenics. So, okay, look. Was eugenics used to forcibly sterilize thousands of people in America? Yes. Was it used to justify the Holocaust? Yes. Was eugenics all bad? Absolutely yes. The whole thing was bad. It was terrible. He was the father of eugenics. So you're probably asking yourself, can we still use regression? I love that picture so much. Can we still use regression if the person who invented it was kind of a scumbag? And I want to say yes, and the comparison I'd like to make to you now is that the remix to Ignition is a great song, even though R. Kelly is a terrible person. Regression is like Galton's remix to Ignition. It's a good song. If that came on right now, you'd be like, this guy sucks, but bounce, 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 bounce. It's got a sound from Boston. All right. Let's continue on with, I know you guys love academic genealogy. So Galton had, he's like, I'm never coming back to the show. Galton had a student named Carl Pearson of Pearson correlation fame. Pearson also started the Annals of Human Genetics, the journal called Annals of Human Genetics. It still exists today. It's called the Annals of Human Genetics, but it used to be called, when it was founded, the Annals of Eugenics, and it was changed after World War II because they were like, it's a bad look now. And here's a picture of Pearson and Galton, and you'll notice that Galton's sitting oddly because of the horribly deformed lower back. Galton had a student named Wishart, John Wishart of the Wishart distribution. If you've ever done anything with conjugate prior, it doesn't matter. All right. This is William Cochrane. You might know him from Cochrane-Armitage tests or the Cochrane-Mantle-Hansel tests. Did you guys even do a PhD in statistics? I don't even know if you're following along. This is Don Rubin. He's a professor at Harvard. This is Joe Schaefer. I couldn't find a picture of him. I assume this is what he looks like. This is Ofer Harel, and we're basically up to present day. And so I pose to you a question. Because everything is connected. I have two questions. What is the most important scientific thing that has happened in present day, let's say the last 20 years, and who is the most important scientist? And you'll be so shocked to see where this line finishes. Does anyone know what's the most important? Yell out, what's the most important scientific thing that has happened in the last, say, even more recent than 10 years? Yell some stuff out. Higgs boson, computers, gravitational waves, all spectacular answers. CRISPR. So who's the scientist? Can anyone name the scientist in any of those things? Brad Pitt. You're so stupid. No offense, it's okay, I know him. You're all wrong. the most important thing that's ever happened in science, and the most important person to science, the answers to those two questions are this show, Uncontrolled Variables, and Ofer Rel had a student named Gregory Matthews. There is a direct link, I swear to God this is true, there is a direct link from Galileo through Newton to Galton to me, and I am here on this show right now making fun of Galton's lower deformed back. Look at this guy. Science, comedy, I don't know. So what have we learned today? Galton was very weirdly shaped. Men are lying pieces of trash. Statistical regression is Galton's remix to ignition. Uncontrolled variables is the most important scientific achievement of our era. And I'm pretty important, so show me some goddamn respect. Thank you. I'm out. I'm breaking the rules. Oh, follow the show. Follow the show on Instagram.
Yeah, we're Dr. Gregory Matthews, everybody. That was awesome. I have to point out one hero then. Wait a minute. 5'11". What a legend. This guy can think for himself, in my opinion.